This video is a metacognitive update in which I help you understand where you're currently at in the course and give some suggestions for going forward. When I look at the different components within the course, we have online homework, recitations, 3 midterms exams, a final exam, and then your contributions within the lab. The letter grade in the course is based on the total number of points students accumulate across all of these. When I look at the different features here, online homework, recitations, and lab, those are often higher than the exam scores that students have along the way. But the exam scores, those are the largest proportion. So in order to do well in the class, we really want to make it so you do well on the exams. When I look at typical exam performance, where students that finish the course with grades of A minus, along the way on their exams, they're usually about scoring 75% or higher. But it's a pretty wide band. Same thing when I look with students that are getting Bs. You notice the overall distribution shifted down a little bit. Final grades of C or final grades below the C minus. Notice within here when I talk about the final grade, that's the only time we assign an actual letter grade to a score. But what I'm trying to do is to show the typical exam ranges that people get if they're ending up with A, B, C, or below that. Within any of these, you can definitely improve from one exam to the next. Many students do improve. I see that all the time. Wherever they're at, it is possible to go up and stay higher throughout the rest of the course. I have data that shows me that, and that could be you. I'm convinced this happens when they use better learning strategies. My picture for how this fits together, a student is doing certain things within the course. They're taking certain actions. They get feedback based on those actions and based on the actions that they're doing, and it helps them decide whether they're reaching their goals or not. So take a second, share your view here. Do you think your current actions are leading to your desired outcome in this class? You get feedback from homework, feedback on exams, different things. You're the only one that can decide this. I'm not judging you. I'm just curious. Based on your objectives for this class, are your current actions leading to your desired outcome? Turning to the strategies that you can be using in this class. What would you say best describes your view? Do you have a plan? Do you have good strategies so you don't feel like you need to change? Do you have a plan, good strategies, but maybe you need to implement it more fully? Maybe you need new strategies and the current ones you feel are not working. Or maybe you feel that, yeah, new strategies might be helpful, but you probably won't change anything just based on what's going on in your life right now. Take a second. Where do you fall within this? Describe your current perspective for me. When I think about the strategies that you can be using and the actions that you can then take, I have data and suggestions in a few different categories involving using perusal, attending and participating in class, your use of mastering chemistry, the e-text, and when it comes to practice exams. When I think about perusal, I get a lot of data. This is a typical assignment where it's showing when the annotations are submitted within the system. We see close to the deadline, there's a spike as students provide annotations. This is where our class falls, and so thankfully, there aren't very many annotations in that time period. We have the day the assignment is due, we have the day before, and we also have this bin here for folks that contribute after we've had our class. I think different times allow the program to provide different aspects to support your learning. When do you typically use perusal? And do you think that that time best supports your learning? Oftentimes within the class, I'm referring back to ideas that were in a pre-class video. Is it a pre-class video for you, or are you going to come to it later? And when I ask, do you think that that time best supports your learning? In an ideal case, would you change the time, or do you think that you're actually choosing the one that's most appropriate to support your learning? Within the Perusal system, I consider assignment scores of 2 or higher to be full credit. When I look at how those match up with typical exam scores, the students that are reaching scores of uh, 80% or higher on their exam, about 3/4 of the time when they're entering annotations within Perusal, about 75% of those assignments are at that level or higher. And you can see that that goes down as the exam scores go down. It's less and less likely that students are completing assignments at that level. I'm really confident that everyone can achieve that particular value. I see evidence time and again of students being able to provide really high quality annotations that are reaching overall scores of values of 2 or more, which I, again, consider to be full credit. But I notice more and more gaps for the students that score lower on the exams, where they're either not adding very many annotations that are high quality to an assignment, or they're skipping it altogether. So I see two variables here. I see when the assignment is completed and the score. What is your perspective on these? Is this an area where you might change your actions? Do you think you might be using Perusal differently going forward? What are your thoughts? When I think about data for attending and participating in class, I have imperfect data on that. We do some polls at the start of class, so I get a general sense if people are attending, but I know that it's not perfect. Based on the start of class polling data, this is what I see on that. Uh, the I need to make an adjustment here. Percentage of scores in Perusal higher. This should be attending in class. Sorry about that. So what I see within here, attending in class, about 80% of the time, I see students attending in class, whether they're a high student on the exam or middling down there. But I see a greater drop off for the students that are scoring low on the exam. Over time, what I see as the semester progresses, I usually see the attendance drop off week by week, and that's primarily from the students here that end up scoring lower on exams. They feel defeated in some way and they're less likely to attend class. When it comes to attending class here, again, share with me your perspective. Is this an area where you will change your actions? And I guess it goes either way. Is it an area where you feel that you could do more to attend class? Or maybe you feel like you're not getting that much out of class, so it's likely that you're going to begin to tail off and not attend. What is your perspective about your actions pertaining to attending and participating in class? Now, about the last, close to the end here, when it comes to mastering chemistry, I think that this program, a strength of it is it provides you with feedback if you use it authentically. When you have a particular question, you can really ask yourself, okay, is this topic, is this question, is it easy for you? Are you at the level where you could even explain it to someone? This is where your own metacognition is very important. Your own self-reflection as you think about the topic and you think about your skill level relative to the objective. Now, I know that students, when it comes to mastering chemistry, there's a whole range of outcomes. There's a whole range of ways students use it. Do you think that when it comes to mastering, is your goal primarily to complete the assignments, or is it to learn from them? Because I think those are different things. Put a score on here and tell me your perspective. And has that changed as the course has progressed? Do you think it will change going forward? Is your goal to complete, or is your goal to learn from? This thought here about learning from mastering, I think if you identify gaps within your knowledge, the e-text I think is a good source that you can then use. And when I think about the e-text, I'm also thinking about the provided chapter reading guides to help you do a targeted reading. So you're not wasting your time, you're looking at the aspects within the chapter that I think are most relevant for the exam. So for me, I think a good resource, if mastering chemistry is identifying gaps in one's knowledge, a way to learn more would be using the e-text paired with chapter reading guides. But that's just my perspective. When I say a good resource for learning more is the e-text, well, I'm a chemistry professor. I already know the content that's in the e-text. And I know that you're a learner. We're at different spots. So what do you think? Am I correct in my assumption that the e-text is a good resource if mastering chemistry identify gaps in your understanding? Can you learn more by using the e-text? What else do you do? Is it something that you're trying to use? Do you not think of using the e-text? Do you go with a different plan? Have you tried to use it and it hasn't been sufficient for you? What are your thoughts? Now, when it comes to the practice exams, our plan is to have a series of practice exams where the questions are based on our previous exams. We put them in Carmen so that you can seek to authentically use them. Now, I know oftentimes some students don't use them in Carmen. They take them, they print them out as a PDF, they do something else. Give me a little feedback on that. When it comes to practice exams, do you use these outside of Carmen? Do you use them in Carmen, or do you not use them at all? The idea of using them authentically, that's crucial. A lot of times when students, I find, use them outside of Carmen, if they take them, print them as a PDF, I think they're missing an opportunity to authentically test themselves. Because after all, the format within Carmen, you can put yourself really in test mode if you're taking the exam within Carmen within that setup. The feedback that we provide, the idea is that you've authentically tested yourself, you've identified strengths and weaknesses, and you can learn more about your weaknesses and follow up with additional questions to improve. We have this not just once, but several times. So our plan is sort of this progression that can take place in the days leading up to the test. It's obviously better within this to start from a higher value on your first test. Sometimes students try to move along this progression, but their first practice test score, it's just too low. It's not going to lead them to reach their overall objective. They just have too much that they're trying to learn within that last week. I understand that. The closer that we can be to whatever your objective is, the better I think that this plan will support you as you try to reach it. So when it comes to practice tests then, what's your perspective on this one? Is this an area that you think you will change your own practices going forward? And that could be in terms of if you use the practice test, if you seek to use it authentically, how you act on the feedback, and if you think that this leads to an improvement. Insights you share on this one, it will help me as we try to implement this plan and optimize it for you going forward. Now, when I say optimize your plan, let's look ahead. We've got different chapters that we're working on leading up to another set of practice exams and then our second midterm. And really a key suggestion, I think, is try to master the content in stages. If you reach the level, the time where the practice exam's coming up, and you've got a lot of previous content to return to, that's going to be really, really difficult. If you can try to master the content in chapter 4 as we're reaching it, and then extend that to chapter 5, chapter 6, by the time the practice exams come, you're going to be a lot closer to your objective. That idea of mastering in stages, I think, is going to be really crucial as we move forward towards our next test. And if you're trying to master the content and you identify gaps in your understanding, get help as soon as possible. That might be me, that might be a TA, that might be going to the help room. Don't let it drag on. Again, use your own metacognition and strive for 100%. If you settle for less than that, by the time you reach close to where the exam is, you just have too many gaps. And I return back to this idea about how you can improve your score from exam 1 to exam 2. I see it all the time. The things that I've mentioned within this video along the way, it's all about the strategies and the actions that you then use. That's what leads to improvement. I believe you can do it. I've seen the data. When I say I believe in you, I'm just not trying to be optimistic. I am optimistic, but I've also seen the data. I know that a very deliberate change in one's strategies, if it leads to improved actions, is going to lead to an improved performance going forward. And I know that can happen to you. If you have other thoughts or other suggestions here, please share them. I'm looking forward to your contributions.